I had to make a decision to do something and do it differently, because everything that I've been doing all this time, up for 57 years, was not working.
Welcome to Be Bold Branding, where we discuss the power of differentiating yourself through your own unique story and standout personal brand. Today, we're talking with a women's motivational and confidence coach, and I love that.
I do too.
And the best-selling author of Seen and Unheard.
I love that too.
I do too. Seen and Unheard, a little girl's journey from silence to empowerment. She spent the last 2 decades inspiring and empowering women and girls of all ages to be brave with their story and use their voices for good. Today, she's sharing her bold story, exactly who she helps, and why she does what she does. I'm Tanya Eberhardt, founder of BrandFace, where we help business stars differentiate themselves, and we do that through personal branding.
And I'm Michael Carr. I am the COO of BrandFace now, but I was actually a client almost 8 years ago. And the principles made my company so successful that I became a partner in it to help other people do the exact same things it did for me. Today, we're the most comprehensive personal brand building system across the globe. And we do Be Bold for people just like yourself, people just like the nice lady we're fixing to talk to get their story out there and get the fear out of putting it out there. We'd like to interest a welcome and a bold welcome for Patricia Love. Welcome.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Glad to be here.
We're so glad to have you. And I can't wait to hear the story behind this book, because, you know, personal branding is really all about your story, your personal story, and how you end up where you are, you know. So let's start right there, Patricia. Tell us how you got started in this profession as the motivational and confidence coach for women. Was there a specific event or person in your life who really led to shaping you and where you are today?
Well, gosh, I could probably answer that with a lot of different questions, to be
go
honest,
for it.
because it seems like there's when you've lived as long as I have, and which has been a good time and bad times, and I like to call it that life is just a beautiful struggle. But you know, there's lots of little things that, you know, are involved into how I evolved, you might say. So I guess the best thing to do would be to kind of start a little bit from the beginning. And when I say that, from some behavioral things that I had or grew up with, so it makes people kind of understand where I've come from. So kind of putting it into a more of a nutshell, I actually grew up with, there was 3 siblings. I was the youngest. Now, there was like several years between my brother and I, so I was kind of brought up as an only child, but I also had a father that was kind of unemotionally detached, along with an alcoholic mother. So we combined that with a kind of a kid they're bringing up by himself. I was pretty much left alone. The 2 older ones were off and gone, and so I kind of had to fend for myself, not having the love and the inspiration and the encouragement to do anything, especially back in certain time, you know, days in like the 60s and 70s, we weren't encouraged to do all that much sometimes. You know, I wasn't encouraged to get the education. I wasn't encouraged maybe to be a nurse or to be something, right? Like that. But, you know, it's all fine and good, but as children, we learn what we live. So I learned how to be detached and also trying to get love from my dad, which then gone into my teenage years really caused a rebellious type of Patricia Love, right? And not having the mom there and all that. So, you know, everybody has these type of stories where kids become rebellious, and there's all different types of reasons. But then it moved into my 20s, and I'm an adult now, right? So now I should be trying to change my life and learning, but all kinds of things happened to me. And I was raped twice. My sister passed away. I just got into the wrong friend zone, you might say. And I like to call it, my 20s was, you know, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So, and then moving into that, but the reason I'm bringing this up is because there's behaviors that we have. And until we're really willing to acknowledge those behaviors and maybe kind of work on them to fix them, well, you just keep on doing the same old, right? It's kind of like you're on a hamster wheel. So if it's like the quotes that are out there, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, you get the same results. And that's exactly what was happening to me. I didn't have the finance sense. I knew how to become a salesperson because that was what my dad was. And so in order to get his attention, I learned how to negotiate with him. I learned how to do that. So there was one good thing that was taught to me. The problem is I was really good at making money. but I was not very good at keeping it. And I was really good at spending it. So now we kind of go forward, you go into your 30s and 40s. And at my 50s, pretty much a lot of everything came to a head. Now I was a successful real estate agent, but again, there was a mask on. There was this face that somebody else's, I would come out and smile all day long and then go home and cry my eyes out like, what am I doing? I don't have any money, yet everybody thinks I drive the big cars and I have all this and that, like a lot of people do. There's a lot of that out there. And so for me, it all came to a head though. And it was at 57 years of age where my second husband, I've had relationships. So they all kind of like marriages in some sense, right? So right. One of my third relationships, was again, falling apart. He left me for a younger woman. My mom had passed away. The real estate industry completely took a dive. This is 2008, 2009, right? When real estate kind of stopped. Well, unfortunately, I was $140,000 debt. And at that time, no money coming in. So making that money was not really easy to do. So it was more of where was my next meal going to come from? Would I have a roof over my, roof over my head? And so bottom line is I came to a head where something had to change. My branding, you might have to say, had to change. I had to make a decision to do something and do it differently because everything that I've been doing all this time up for 57 years was not working. Right. And it came to a head on one night where I just said, I can't do this anymore. I mean, I was, like I said, $140,000 in debt. I was about 40, 50 pounds overweight. I was drinking too much, maybe having a few drugs here and there, even in the 2000s, I probably shouldn't have been doing. And I just kind of was laying on the floor and I said, I can't do this anymore. I just can't. So that was the day I actually took my power back. And when I say that is that I needed to give my permission that I can make changes and I could ignite it. And it was only me that could do it. I couldn't rely on the person next door or somebody else to necessarily help me. Some people will help you emotionally if they can, but they can't give you money and save you. And, you have to save yourself. So I turned myself and reinvented myself I took my business real estate business and I reinvented it and started working with getting all my clients to actually become investors because at that time, the prices were pretty low, right? So they could invest in things. So I turned that around and started making money, but I also had bills to pay off. I'd sold everything I had to pay off everything so I could live. And, it just kind of took a step by step growing there. But I came up with 5 words that I use, and I use it in my coaching, and it's branded me, and it's turned me into the confidence coach that I am because I had to learn to have my own confidence. I had to push through my own fears. I had to really move forward because, again, nobody's going to do it by myself. But it was not easy. And I don't want anybody to think it's easy because it's a struggle. And sometimes you take 3 steps forward and sometimes you take 3.5 steps back sometimes and then move forward again another 2 steps. So it's a journey to do. So that's what I did. I just kept moving forward. The 5 words that I wanted to make sure that people understand is acknowledgement, forgiveness, mindset, accountability, and perseverance. And then I added a word gratitude in there. But those 5 words, I branded myself, I created a program with it, that if you can utilize and start using these words every day, which I do, every day I look at what do I need to acknowledge? What do I need? What do I need to forgive? Who do I need to forgive? And I just go through it because, at the beginning, those were very long lists, acknowledging my negatives, right? And forgiving people. But now those lists are sometimes they're not even a list because I did good that day. So it's turned my life around. I went from broke to broken to, triumphant and, plenty of money in the bank. And, and it's all done through just really niching and deciding to go forward and being myself, not comparing myself and just being me. And that's, kind of in a smaller nutshell is what my story is. And then I wrote the book too, because the book itself is a memoir of my life.
There's so many places we could go with this.
I know, right?
It's so fantastic.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Just like, where do we go from here?
This is fantastic. Yeah. Yes. It's really, I don't even know where to start exactly. I got to say, first off, there's no way that you were 57 back in.
No.
Now, this is
That's the first thing I got to address.
Well, this is my, I love
I'm
you
sitting
guys.
here
But
counting on my fingers.
this is my 70th year. So, you know, and I'm loving every minute
of that
it.
elixir that you're drinking, whatever you're taking, that's where
I still have a martini once in a while. So I'm not, you know.
It does you well.
It does you well. You look fantastic. I got to say.
Well, peaceful and being happy and no stress, key. But
That is.
how do you de-stress yourself? By acknowledging what you need to work on and knowing that you're never going to be 100% perfect, that you're perfectly flawed, no matter what you're doing. You're starting a business, you're starting a coaching, you're doing whatever you might want to do, just being you. It's this lack of stress that's amazing that changes your life. Because I go to bed every night now feeling peaceful. And that was all I really want. You know, money, you want to be able to be financially free so that you have a roof over your head, right? And food to eat and everything you need. But in reality, I believe, and the people that I coach now, they want peace. And peace is knowing that there's not a lot of stress in their life. And just
I say all the time that every day people are like, how you doing? I'm like, every day's Saturday over here. Yeah. And most of the time, you're going to get one or two different reactions. Of course. Usually, you're going to get, well, I wish I could live in your world. But the truth of the matter is you can, as you are living proof of, right? Because peace is what people want. We deal with people all the time, and I know you do too, and they think, well, if I just had all the money, well, then I would be, no, you won't. No, you won't.
I had it. Didn't make me any happier.
Rich people that are absolutely miserable, absolutely miserable. I remember sitting one time in Laguna Beach at a friend's house. This dude's worth like $300-400 million. And he's like, I don't know what I want. And I'm like, well, you idiot. If you don't know what you want, what's the rest of us supposed to do?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
It doesn't make you happy.
Because it doesn't have anything to do with the money.
Yeah, it doesn't make you happy. You know, it's funny because a couple of years ago, I actually decided to sell my condo and live in an apartment. And then I said, you know, I don't do this anymore because I'm a little out there. I bought a boat, gutted it, and live on my boat most of the time, unless I'm traveling. Like right now, I'm doing some traveling. But it's a small space. You can't have a lot of stuff. Right. And so now I find when I'm in hotel rooms or people might go stop at my friend's house, I'm like, oh my God, this is a lot of room, guys. This is a little overwhelming. Just put me in that bathroom. I'm good.
Yeah, one chair in one room at a time, right?
You just don't need, you find out what you don't need and what makes you happy. Yeah. And that's very few things, to be honest with you. It's, you know, people you love, your fur babies or whatever it might be. Because I get to travel with my fur baby. She could show up anytime, by the way.
We love that.
Okay. That happens all the time. Another thing I'd like to point out too, though, like in the 5 words that you talked about, like, wouldn't you say that so much of that is when you focus on those 5 words, and that's all you're going to focus on, you remove so much clutter that the world's trying to lay upon you constantly, especially being in the real estate business, right? Yeah. It is constant. Like somebody's always got a newfangled thing, the greatest thing, the best thing, this thing, that thing. And focus is a huge problem with people in growing themselves and growing business. And would you say that those 5 words really help people like concentrate?
Well, I think we all need to be intentional, you know, and focus, because that's the biggest problem is that people are dangling, you know, shiny objects in front of us at all times. And if you got that shiny object syndrome, you know, you have a tendency, oh, well, that's good. Oh, let me do that. I mean, I did that myself, you know, we all do. But when you actually start creating like the words that I can go through every single day, it focuses you and it makes you realize, I don't need that. It makes you think more. It's amazing when you start focusing on certain things and removing things that everything else kind of falls aside. Now, I love to learn. So I'm always learning about things because I think that's growth and that's how we grow every single day. And that's how we maintain our brains and we move forward. But really focusing is key on anything, whether you're in business to brand yourself, if you're just, you know, on a regular daily basis, focus on your things because multitasking, what everybody does today, it's really, you can do it. It's just not done well.
Right. The truth.
You talk about confidence and, you know, that's really what you're known for is helping people achieve that. You know, it's kind of hard to manufacture that confidence when you don't feel it though. So how do you overcome that? How do you teach your clients to overcome that?
Well, you can create confidence. People think that, you know, they're born with it, you know, type of thing. And the other thing that the biggest problem with people have is that they think that confidence is, you know, arrogance, boastfulness, and being conceited. And so a lot of them are like, well, I don't need to have that much confidence because I don't want to be conceited. It's not it. Confidence is just being assertive and being brave and pushing through your own personal fears. You don't have to go out on TV or podcast unless you truly want to do so. That's another fear or confidence builder. But I always tell people that if they think it's boastful or conceited or arrogance, if they're saying that, then they will never be that, because they're just, they're just going to be who they are. So they're already at that task where they're like, oh, I don't want to be that. You're not that, because you're already saying you don't want to be that. You will never be that. But you also need to show up if you want to do anything. I mean, and I always encourage my clients to take, what do you say? Do 51%. Just do a little bit more than the average. Just push yourself a baby step. Even if it's 1%, maybe it's something you've never done before. Just do 1%. Doesn't have to be 80%. Just move forward.
Right.
And try to get out of not try, but, move through your comfort zone, because that's where what happens is we get so comfortable where we're at. We're in that comfortable zone, but really, if you're in that comfort zone, you're really not even living. You're just stagnant. You're not doing anything. Right. And so taking your toe and just stepping it out just a little bit, just pushing a little bit. And then all of a sudden you find out, oh, that wasn't so bad. And then you maybe push a little harder the next day. So it's baby steps. And I encourage everybody never to take those big, huge steps. The easiest way to explain that is how people want to lose weight. So they'll be also confident when they lose that 50 pounds, and they'll lose that 50 pounds in a month and a half. Okay, right. Okay. And then when they don't lose it, they get upset, right? And pissed off. So if you say, you know what, I'm just going to lose 1 pound this week, or maybe 1 pound in 2 weeks, and I'll just change my eating habits. It's amazing the difference. You don't stress out about, oh my God, I'm so hungry. You're just changing your little bit of your habits. And then all of a sudden you see a pound come off, and then the 2 pounds. And then even that gets you excited. Like, oh my God, I lost a pound. Sometimes as long as you're losing, you're good. But sometimes you may gain half a pound, but that's okay too. It's just, sometimes we take 2 forward and 1 step back. That's okay. And I think the biggest thing is people have to realize they're human, we're flawed, and nothing is perfect, but people are always striving for it. And you're never going to get there.
Yeah, you're striving for something you can't obtain.
That's true.
It was always blew my mind, like with our kids, they all of them love peas. And if you gave them 3 peas at a time, they'd eat the whole can. And if you poured the whole peas out there, they wouldn't eat 3. Like, it's so even as a child, we sort of like, we can be overwhelmed. And yet as adults, we feel like we got to take it all on. We got to change it all.
Exactly. But that's what happens. We're overwhelmed. I mean, like social media today, and everybody comparing themselves. If you're trying to start a business or moving forward, is you're comparing yourself to the Kardashians, and you're comparing yourself to all these people that they work very hard, and they probably took baby steps. You're just seeing the end results. You're not seeing where they started off. And there is a little bit of luck in certain things, but it's also usually luck is brought on by hard work. And so by just taking that 1 step at a time and not overwhelming yourself, because people quit when they're overwhelmed. They don't want to do it anymore. It's like, thethis is too much. They throw their hands up in the air, like, just don't care.
That's so true. And even little accomplishments breed great confidence.
They do.
Absolutely. And I always tell everybody, if you make that one little goal, celebrate. I mean, get up and dance, do a little jig, like, woohoo, I did it. I checked off those 10 things that I was going to do today. Check it off, because when you check it off, that feels like an accomplishment. It feels like you've done something, and you have. So then celebrate it, like, oh yeah, I'm hot, I'm good. And it's amazing. It just keeps you want to do it the next day, and then the next day. And
I think that does a peripheral too. When you were just talking about that you probably thought of, but it just came to me. You also are teaching yourself by habit when you enjoy those little things like that, and you celebrate them to celebrate every day, like all the time. Because
celebrate every day, and it
always
creates a habit.
Yeah, and my grandfather used to say, good habits are just as hard to break as bad habits.
Sometimes harder.
Pounded that into us, and he's right. And so that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Well, hey, you know, we like to ask our guests 5 and very important questions when it comes to your personal brand, and you clearly have a great one,
Sure.
right? So we'd like to ask you those 5 questions now.
Okay, well, I'll do the best I can to answer them.
All right. Number 1, what sets you apart from others in your industry?
Me, just being me. I don't want to compare myself because I'm the only person that I am, and nobody's going to say the same thing as somebody else. I'm going to say it, and if I only can help one person because they like how I say something, that's all I need. You know, it's help. It's like the acronym HOPE, helping one person at a time, every day, helping one person every day, and that's good enough for me. But it's only me that sets me apart.
I love it. We're personal branders. That's right up our alley right there. We love it.
That's true. Okay, number 2, exactly who do you serve? Who are your ideal customers?
My ideal customer is, you know, that's a funny question. It's actually me again. It's all about me, right? No, you know, I help women, really just women that are just striving to look for maybe that extra, to raise their hand to get on that show, to maybe ask that question for a career, to get a promotion, or to start a new job, or just that courage. It's really a woman looking for courage, and typically they're all between 40 and 55.
Yeah, you know, I got a sidebar right here for a minute. Sure. Because, you know, I was raised by a single mother in between 2 sisters. We have 3 daughters, 1 son. You know, there's been I've been around a lot of estrogen, I can tell you. But as a father, I can tell you that we didn't have to worry about the son. He's full of confidence. If we could have poured some of that out of him and put it in some of the girls, you know what I mean? And they all have grown into their confidence levels. But I really have a heart for the women like that, because they need to have more confidence, because more confident women creates more confident men. Like I've said this before, you cannot raise a king of a man unless you're a queen of a woman. And, you know, it takes that. And if there's your equality, if women could be confident, have that voice, then they find better men, they make better children.
And a sidebar to that, to you, it would be like, if we just need to find a lot of men that will help women feel more confident.
I would agree with that 1,000%.
You know, and so that's a key thing too, encouraging them in the equality as far as, you know, imaging and not showing the skinny little, well, and filters these days make everybody look beautiful, right? And it's just, you know, it's unfortunate.
I need one. I need a filter.
I know, right?
All right. You do not.
You both looking good.
Yeah. So
awesome.
All right. Question number 3, how do you serve your ideal customers?
How do I serve them? I serve them by showing up and listening, and by seeing them. I like to, just like my book, I like to let women know that I see them and I'm listening. And that's how I serve them, is because a lot of women feel that they're not heard. They feel like they grew up unseen and kind of second class or dismissed or overlooked. And I always want them to know that with me, they are seen and they are heard. And there's nothing that I could possibly judge, because I'd be judging myself.
Number 4, what qualifies you to serve them?
Well, first off, I've lived it. I've lived it, and I also have.
That's the big.
That's the key one. And I've lived a lot of different parts of it as far as the confidence. And I shared with you guys today a small portion of it. But there's a lot more. My editor says, you probably need to write another book. And I'm like, yeah, probably. But you know, I've lived it, and then I've done the work. I've done the work every single day. I still do the work every single day. There's never a day that I'm not growing, learning, so that I can be better for my clients. But because it's important to be educated, even though I wasn't formally educated, I educate myself every single day. And if there's something I don't know, which, you know what, I don't know everything, I will find out. And I'm learning from my clients all the time too.
No doubt.
I like that spirit.
He who teaches, you know, that's definitely true. And the 5th one is almost redundant, but we love to hear it because it's my favorite question. How does it make their life better?
Oh, it makes their lives better because confidence is freedom. When you feel and have the confidence in being able to ask a question or to do something, it actually changes their lives. And it really is, confidence is freedom. And it's something that when they get it and they see it and they feel it, it's almost like a little flower, blooming. And to me, it's just like, oh my God, look at where you're going. Look at what you're doing. And to me, that just warms my heart.
What's next for you, Patricia Love?
What's next for me? Well, actually, with all this, I'm actually launching an app because it is called Confident You. And it should be out any day now. I'm just waiting for Apple's final approval and Google, you know how that goes. And it's for women to help them not only build confidence, but it's affordable coaching, that it'll be interactive. I'm bringing out all kinds of great interviews with women around the world who have gone through confidence, and it's going to be raw. And when I say that, it's not the pumping up, like you can do this all the time. It's more like, what you are a woman who has succeeded, but where do you still need help? Where do you still need to work? So that people know that everybody's human, and even when you get there, you're still working on it. Mm-hmm. So I'm really excited about it because it's going to be interactive and it's going to be a community. So I can't wait. Every day I'm like, is it ready yet? Is it ready yet?
We do know that feeling for
yes,
sure.
I know, right?
How can prospects reach you if they have questions or if they want to work with you?
Oh, easily, patricialove.com. They can reach me on my website, or they can also go to Instagram and connect with me at Coach Patricia Love. And if they're interested in getting my book, you can go to Amazon.com or Barnes & Noble.
Nice.
Easy enough.
Nice.
Patricia, you are a breath of fresh air. Thank you so much for being on with us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was a great opportunity. Thank you.
I love your story, your energy, and what you bring to women.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, guys, if you learned something today that helps you or inspires you, I know I did. We encourage you to like it, love it, share it, and ding, subscribe so you can be the first to learn about the next episode.
Yeah, guys, listen, it's all about prosperity. You hear us talk about that all the time, but prosperity, we're not just talking about money. That's just a portion of it. It's about the 360 of a truly abundant life that we wish for every one of you. We know here at BrandFace that prosperity favors the bold. So we say be bold, folks, especially with your brands, especially in 2022. Thank you, Miss Patricia. And thank you, Ms. Tony.
Thank you very much. All right, guys, we'll see you next time on Be Bold Branding.
Brought to you by BrandFace, the only comprehensive personal brand building system across the globe.